both sides.
Alright, so on the first scramble you started off with yellow on top and blue in the front like this, and you notice that these three are basically already relatively solved to each other, so you just went ahead and solved these three like that, and now they're all relatively solved. And then if you do an F move, you can bring red into here, and then D prime and L will put red into the cross, and a D2 would solve it. Your cross solution was okay, but this would have been a slightly better solution in my opinion. You can do a D prime to put red under blue, insert blue like this, and then do a D2 like this from this position to insert orange, and then R2F to solve the remaining two, and then a D prime to solve the cross. And you'd even have a free pair here that you can just insert. But the only downside is that the free pair is in the front right slot, which you'd usually want to preserve for one of the later pairs in the solve. So for your first pair, you notice this pair in the back here, and you inserted it like this, which was fine, but make sure you don't tilt the cube like this to look for pairs. Instead, you can just do U moves and find the pairs like this instead. Then for your next pair, you again did a bunch of U moves, and then you spotted this, and the way you solved this was pretty much perfect. Then for your next pair, you noticed these two right away, which was pretty good, and then you took it out like this, U move, and then you rotated, and then you inserted. That was also pretty fine. One criticism here is there is another solution that is slightly faster, but I don't use it that often because I don't like the finger tricks, but you can use it if you'd like. You basically do an F, R prime, U to solve that pair, and then R, F prime like that. And that just inserts this pair directly from the back. And in this case, it even sets up this free pair. So up till here, your F12 inserts were pretty much optimal, just that you did a few unnecessary tilts like this and U moves. It was pretty much fine. But here you did something really inefficient, and that is a bunch of U primes like this, and then you rotated, and then you did a U2 and put this pair in the back. You broke it up like this, you rotated again, paired it up like this, and inserted into the back. So that was very inefficient. You spent about 17 moves on just that pair, and that's usually how long a PLL algorithm is. So you'd want to keep it around 8 to 10 moves for each F12 pair. And you did 2 rotations in that solve, which was extremely inefficient. Instead, from this position, you can just do one solution, and that is you can keep the pair over here, insert the corner like this, and now you just have this case that you can solve like this. Another thing you can do is instead of inserting the corner, you can insert the edge, and now you have this case that you can solve like that. So next was OLL, and your execution was pretty much perfect. And then you came to PLL and you did a U prime, and then you recognize it's an A perm by tilting the cube. I would just recommend to just kind of be able to predict what it could be from here. So generally, if you have a block like this, just put it towards your left hand like this, and you can predict from what pattern you have here. In this case, it's an A B perm, I guess, and your execution was also pretty much perfect. So for the next solve, you started off with yellow cross with blue in the front like this, and you inserted orange, then you inserted red, and then you inserted green like that, and then you solved the rest of the cross. I personally would have just solved the white cross because it's again really easy, and this pair in the back stays pretty much unaffected, so I can straight away go into that for my next pair. So I would have done something like this and straight into that, so like that. So for your first F12 pair, you instantly rotated and you paired these two up like this. You took it out and inserted it like this. Now that is an okay insert from this angle, but if you already saw this pair from here, then instead of rotating, you can just solve it like this. and that even makes it a back slot, which is pretty good. So for your next pair, you saw this edge and this corner in the back, and you decided to do keyhole, which is pretty smart, but you ended up doing a bunch of unnecessary U and D moves. So you did a U, a D, a U, a D prime, and then a U2 and then a D prime, and then you inserted the corner over here, and then another D to solve the F12. Instead, you could have just done a D2, inserted the corner in the back, and then done a D2 afterwards. Or if you're not familiar with the concepts of keyhole, you can just take it, pair it up like this, and then insert it. Or you could have also done what you did, but don't do all those unnecessary U and D moves. Just straight away a D prime, insert the corner, and then a D. So for your next pair, I think you just did a U and a rotation instinctively to look for pairs, and then you saw this and this, I believe. So you did a U prime and then you rotated again. You paired it up like this and then you inserted it like that. That solution is fine, but if you already saw the pair from here, then you need not rotate in order to pair it up. You can just either pair it up like this to make a pair, or you can put the corner over here and pair it up like this and straight away insert. And in this case, that solution even sets up another free pair, so that's pretty good. So next you had this pair, for which you rotated, paired it up like this and inserted into the back. Now again, that was a very suboptimal solution. You could have just paired it up like this straight away, and in this case you could even do a sledgehammer to get some edges oriented. If you rotated because you did not know this solution, then that's alright, but if you rotated because you wanted to solve with your right hand, then change that, because that will affect you later. Alright, so for your OLL you did a U2, F sexy, F prime. You basically did 2 look OLL, and here you used an algorithm with M moves, which seemed alright, but I generally recommend using this algorithm since M moves are quite slow compared to regular R and U moves. So you can just do like that. Anyway, from here you did this, and then you did a JB perm but mirrored to the left. But since you're mostly a right hand dominant solver, I'd recommend using mostly right-handed algorithms, because when you're mostly doing right-handed moves, your left hand just serves as a grip for the cube to hold it in position. So if you switch from right-handed algorithms to left-hand ones, then you'd have to do a slide grip so that your right hand becomes the one that grips the cube and your left hand becomes the one that does the moves. So I'd recommend switching to either one of these algorithms. So you can either do a U, put the bar in the front and do this like that, or you can put the bar towards the left and do this algorithm. So for your third and final solve, you again did yellow cross with orange in the front like this. You first inserted red, which put blue in position to be inserted, and these three are now relatively solved. Then you did a D2 to solve these three, and finally to insert this pair you did this like that, and that solved your cross. In this solve you inspected for around 10 seconds, so just try to make sure that you don't make silly mistakes like this, because here you can just solve this, and instead of aligning the cross and then inserting this, you can just do a D, insert orange along with everything else, and then just solve the cross as a whole. So after the cross you pretty much went into your first pair right away, so that's pretty good. So you did an L, U prime, L2, U, L, and then you had this pair which you just inserted like that into the back. So that solution was around 8 moves long and you took just a second to do it. So that's pretty good, but here's a slightly better solution in my opinion. You can insert this edge into here like this, do a U move, and now you just have this pair which you can straight away insert into the back. So after inserting that, you went into this pair like this. That's pretty good. Alright, So for your next pair, you have this right in front of you, and I think you solved this pair next, but it was in a very suboptimal method. So you basically did a bunch of view moves like this. You paired it up like this into a 3-move insert, and then you inserted it like that. Since you're in this position already, I recommend you just put the edge on the left here, pair it up, and just insert it like that. Anyway, you did U3 like this, pair it up, and then you inserted, and here your solution was pretty much fine. You did a U prime, paired these up, and sledged it in. So that's a good move, sledging, because if you just inserted it normally, you'd get a dot OLL. So GG on that. And here you got this square OLL, and you again did 2-look OLL here, but I think this is a very simple OLL case and you can just learn it anyway. So it's basically just back soon but wide arm moves. So like this. And that just solves your OLL straight away. Anyway, for OLL you did that, and then this OLL, and that gives you a V perm, and here you did a U prime and then a wide T perm and then a lefty J perm. So I definitely think that solution was not good, since you did 2 PLLs just to solve one. So I recommend you either learn the V perm algorithm, which isn't that hard with the new RUD versions, or you can do a Y perm or some other diagonal swap algorithm. For example, I'm doing a Y perm here, and then you'll get an EPLL, which is pretty fast. So overall, I think there are 3 things you can work on. The first thing is definitely your F2L efficiency. You had a lot of inefficient solutions, especially for this case, so I definitely recommend you work on that. And another thing that kind of goes along with F2L is your cross. So you can try to find shorter cross solutions as well. You can also learn simple OLL and PLL algorithms, or maybe even full PLL for that matter, since you average sub 20 anyway. The last thing is definitely to minimize the number of cube rotations you do per F2L pair. I think that definitely that count can be lowered. And lastly, I just want to tell you that you don't need to worry about look ahead as much at this point. Just try to make your F2L solutions and your solutions in general just a lot more efficient, and then you can get those solutions into your muscle memory, and then you can start working on your look ahead. So that's about it for this video. If you enjoy videos like this, then please consider subscribing to my channel, as it really helps me out. I post videos like this every Saturday at 4 PM IST, so make sure you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss those uploads. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!